Welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. And this week, Career Cravings Live is actually happening. Literally this week, it's one day in the heart of Toronto. We are going to be filming the podcast live, and I'm throwing a career conference because why the not? So it's literally happening this Thursday. If you've been thinking about joining us now, this is literally your last chance. There's a couple of tickets left, so you can swipe up in the show notes and save your seat. It's going to be amazing. Everything is planned. I am so ready. I'm like buzzing. I'm getting so many messages from you guys saying that you're so excited to be there. Quick rundown of what is happening that day. It's going to be amazing. So not only are we filming the podcast live, so if you've been listening, if you're a fan of the podcast, I need to meet you in person. Like this is literally the launch party that Career Cravings should have had when I launched it in February, but we're throwing it now and bigger and better than ever. So come out to the conference. I'm going to have real recruiters looking for talent there. I will also have HR professionals from top organizations and speakers. There will be free headshots for you when you come with my personal photographer as well, which is going to be so much fun. And baristas, delicious coffees and teas and lunch as well. So come on out. I can't wait to meet you, have lunch with you, record the podcast with you. And you're going to be networking in a room full of people that get it. Also, if you are looking for your next HR role right now, you really cannot miss this. So this is literally the only HR conference that is focused with the sole goal of getting you hired. So if you haven't saved your seat yet, you literally can do that right now. The conference is happening August 14th, this Thursday on King Street in Toronto. So if you are in Toronto, amazing. I can't wait to see you there. And if you live near Toronto or you want to fly in, even better. So this is the event to reset your career, finally make that move that you've been craving and to get inspired. Head to the show notes, swipe up and grab your seat now. If you have any questions, of course, send me a DM on LinkedIn, Instagram, all the things. And I think we have less than 5 spots left for general admission. So save your seat, get in the room, let's freaking go. And I will see you this Thursday. Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. So in today's episode, I am sharing my 4-step strategy that I use to walk each and every client through to land their dream roles in 90 days or less. So this is the exact conversation that's been missing from your job search strategy. So if you feel like you've tried everything, you're even starting to question your experience, you're wondering if it's just the market. So I know I will say this until I'm blue in the face. It is not about having the perfect experience or being the perfect candidate, but it is about strategy. And today we're breaking down the 4-part strategy. So let's dive in. So I wasn't planning on doing a session like this. And what actually sparked it was recently I held a private invite only session for people that are on my newsletter to sign up and get coaching advice live, ask their questions, because there is a huge disconnect right now between what I'm seeing in my DMs. Every day I get dozens, sometimes hundreds of DMs from people looking for their next roles and how hard it is and how long they've been searching. And then I'm seeing a huge disconnect between the results that my clients are getting. And in 1 month, I had over 20 people land their dream roles within 30 or 60 days. And they were all people that went through my masterclass and then had decided to work together. But today, what I wanted to do was actually break down the process that helped them get there in case you're also looking for your next role. Some of them landed multiple offers. Others negotiated higher pay than they ever thought possible. There were a couple 6-figure offers that also came through that were completely unexpected. And these are not unicorns. So this is what I see in my world time and time again. And these were people that are just like you. They've been searching. They weren't sure what they were doing wrong in their job search. They showed up to the training. They joined my signature coaching program. They followed a proven system, and then the results were incredibly fast. So if you're thinking, could this happen for me? Just know that yes, like literally all of these people thought the same thing before getting support with their search. And that's exactly what happened. One thing I want to say is that I host events like this that pop up when I get inspired time and time again. So if you are not on my newsletter, what are you even doing? So get on my newsletter. I'm linking it in the show notes, but let's get into the 4 shifts. Okay. So my proven framework is a really simple system. And this is a system, predictable process that gets my clients interviews and offers in 90 days or less. There are 4 shifts. We're going to break each and every one down. And I will challenge you, if you are listening to this and you're thinking, this sounds really simple. I'm already doing this. I will challenge you to question whether or not you're getting the results from what you're doing, because it's one thing to do something and it's a very, very different thing to get results from what you're doing. And I'm going to also break down how you know if you're getting results in each one of these areas. So before we dive into shift 1, I want to take a pause for a second and show you what it's actually like when you put this 4-step process in action. So I want to introduce you to Shrey. This was my client. He is so lovely. He joined my program less than 60 days ago. And when we met, we actually met in person. We went to Future Fest together, which was that conference that I spoke at, because I actually brought 9 of my clients to come with me that were local and gave them, free tickets to the event, which was incredible. So we got to meet in real life. And at that time, he was going into final interviews for a dream job. And I want you to hear what he says, because this is someone who actually knew exactly how to put the process into action, because I walked him through every single step of the way. So it was no guesswork involved. But listen to what happened, okay? And then I'm going to explain.
After almost a year of looking out for job, and I was not expecting this kind of change, right? It's a director of human capital. A director level role. Yeah. Coming into the sessions, I was very demotivated. The reason being, I was searching for more than a year. But when you are working with a group, the fellow folks over here, it gives you a bit of motivation. We met at the Future Fest as well. I'm not ignite to a labor part-time job for survival. I've been doing it for last 6 months. So you just commented try to utilize that experience and incorporate into your interviews if possible. Saturday I was working at a minimum wage job, right? And now I have this position. Life changing. I'm so happy for you. When you sent me that message, I was like, yes, it worked.
Okay, so that was a snip from Shrey and I celebrating his incredible news. Now, this was actually like the same day he got the news. So he was literally still in shock. And what he talks about was he landed a director level role within 60 days of being inside of my signature program. And what he's talking about is that he was actually working a minimum wage. He was working a minimum wage labor role just on the Saturday before we had this conversation. So just days before. And then he landed a director level position within just 2 months. Now, this is a huge change. It has literally changed his whole life financially, with confidence, with his career. In this video, he was still shocked and he couldn't believe it. But I could, because when your resume, your pitch, your interviews, your job search strategy is finally all aligned, it makes big leaps possible. This was a massive level up. And these are the types of results that my clients are seeing even in today's market. So that's why I wanted to come on here and break down the 4 simple shifts with you. Okay, so let's break down how he did it. That's the fun part. So the first shift is a resume transformation. Now, each one of these shifts I actually break down in my first 5 episodes of this podcast. So if you want to go even deeper into each one of these shifts, after this episode, go in and listen to the one on resume, the one on pitch, the one on interviewing. I break it all down in detail there. But let's start with a resume transformation. So no, this isn't dusting off your old dusty resume that may not be working for you right now or landing you the level of role that you're looking for. Shrey landed a director level role that takes a completely brand new strategy. So where we started was a full transformation, hand in hand, changing every word. This is not just copying your resume into ChatGPT. This is strategic, starting from complete scratch, using data on what is working in today's job market from a proven strategy. So this might sound basic. And so many of my clients actually, they tell me when we meet, the first meeting, they say, oh, I get it now. And when I talk about a strategic approach, this is customized to them as an individual, right? Results like Shrey's don't happen when you just apply to similar roles with the past resume that you've had. This really does take starting from scratch. And that's exactly where I start with each and every one of my clients. So one of the biggest misconceptions, and you're going to hear it broken down on this podcast a lot through different interviews that I do, because I started a new series where I invite clients on that just landed roles and we walk through like shifts that they had, like what was the biggest aha moment. And you're going to hear time and time again that they said like, oh, I was tailoring my resume for every role and I was wasting my time. I didn't know that, because the method that I teach, once you start with strategy, you only have one version of your resume that works for you time and time and time and time again. And it's not just tweaking it a little bit. It's not just updating the data. And I want you to know that if you're constantly updating your resume and still trying to tweak it using everything you know how, you probably would have already had a role if you knew how, right? So it does start with a full transformation. It's not about doing more. It's not about applying more. It's that your messaging isn't landing with the recruiter. And when it lands, incredible things happen. Now, I shared this on my Instagram. So if you're not following me there, I'm career coach Irina on Instagram. But I shared an incredible testimonial also from my client, Amanda. We had met, just to illustrate this whole resume transformation thing with you. We had met the day before. Okay. We transformed her resume. We used this method that I'm talking about. We fully transformed every single word strategically based on the role she's looking for. She wrote me that she applied to a role the next day, and 4 minutes later, 4 minutes, she was invited to her dream interview. So things like this is how you know there will be signs. Like there will be signs if your resume is working for you in any market. And those were the signs. 4 minutes, right? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to assess how well your resume is working. Even if you've done this assessment before, it's a different date today. So I want you to look at this. What is your response rate to your resume? So if you apply to, let's say, 10 roles, how many interviews do you get back? And the answer, I used to look for 30% with all of my clients. And often it is 30 and sometimes it's higher and it varies. But the minimum acceptable answer is 10%. If you're getting interviews for the jobs you want 10% of the time, then the resume is working for you. Now, of course, there are always tweaks. You can always make it better. So I want you to assess. This is like a diagnostic tool. If you're not getting at least a 10% interview rate from your resume, then you need a resume transformation. Now, if you need help with that, DM me and we'll talk about what that really looks like. But you need a resume that lands you interviews at least 10% of the time to really be speaking to enough people to be able to land a role in under 90 days in today's market. Many people take 9 to 10 months. That is not what I want for you here. That is draining. That is not acceptable in my world. So this is what happens when your resume finally clicks into place, and it's not magical formatting. It's not finding the right data point, just one thing. It is a strategic, complete revamp. So if you've been spending hours tweaking your resume, you're not really knowing where it may not be aligning to the role that you're looking for. I want you to know that it's possible. And there is a way to build a resume that gets you very different results like we've talked about. So that is the very first shift. That's shift number 1, the resume transformation. And the cool thing is when you have a resume that works for you, what ends up happening is you start getting invited to pre-screens. And when you're invited to pre-screens, the next most important thing is your pitch, which we're going to get into next. And your pitch is shift number 2. But first, I want to inspire you with what is possible with one more success story.
I actually got invited to interviews almost within less than 24 hours. So I'm like, okay, let's go for it. We're going to go for both. So obviously the first kind of interviews went really well. I was invited back for both organizations, went through again. And then I got both offers within, I think, a 15-hour period.
Insane.
Yeah.
I remember you messaging in the group saying I got an offer, and I'm like, it's been 3 weeks.
Okay, so this was a really fun celebration with my client, Kayla. Incredible. She went from months of silence to then landing 2 offers within 30 days, 2 offers in 30 days. Most people are like, no way, the market's too hard. That's not happening. It is happening with a strategic approach. So of course, what we started with was rewriting her resume. And that's where she talks about she had 2 companies that were instantly interested and she started to interview with both. Now, of course, you heard the results. So she ended up going to both final interviews, crushing it, and then getting both offers. And she could choose where she wanted to work. She had choice in not months, but 3 weeks. In 3 weeks is when she got her first offer, and she got 2 offers in a month, which is freaking amazing. Now, she also was one of the people that came with me to Future Fest, and we got to celebrate in person. It was so amazing to hug her. And seriously, this type of stuff is what makes me just completely light up. So the tip that I want you to walk away from here is that interviewing is also a strategy. So moving into shift number 2, your resume opens the door. Fantastic. You need that. Otherwise, you will likely not be having enough conversations. Now, your pitch is what determines if you move forward. I have a whole episode on the pitch in the first 5 episodes of this podcast when I launched it. So I want you to go back if you need help designing your pitch. Okay. Now, I design all of my clients' pitches word for word, and this makes an incredible first impression at the phone screen stage. So you heard that with Kayla. Within 15 hours, things are happening and she lands her pitch. They're super interested. By the way, she did not have much experience in her field. She was actually transitioning, and they were able to see she's an incredible candidate and, of course, ask her to then move on to the final interviews. So your pitch, if you think about your resume opening the door to interviews, your pitch is what invites you to the next stage or not. Now, I have had clients that they recite their pitch to me and I'm like, that's why you're not moving forward. That's exactly why. Don't say this, don't say this, don't say this, don't say this. And you likely won't know what those things are because sometimes you're too close to your experience. So one of my favorite things to do is to look at my client's profile and to say, okay, this is what sets you apart. This is why you're freaking amazing. This is exactly what you need to say. Repeat after me. Go. And then this is the type of thing that happens. So from no interviews to 2 interviews in quickly, and then 2 offers in 30 days. Insane. So that is the importance of your pitch. And that is shift number 2. Now, if you're like, Irina, what is a pitch? Again, I break it down in the other podcast episode, but this is the answer to that question of tell me about you. It's whatever question someone asks you first in an interview, whether it's tell me about you or walk me through your resume. Either one of those, your cue is pitch, and it's time to go to the pitch. Now, most people will include things that should not be included, and most people will ramble and have a pitch that's way too long, unacceptable. People will lose interest. It's too long. It doesn't have a hook. Or some people freeze and they go into random things. There was this one person that actually said, I'm a mom of 4. And when they said, tell me about you, I'm like, yes, that is something about you. You will be discriminated against. And newsflash, she didn't get the job. Of course, duh, obviously, right? But a pitch should be designed in a strategic way as well. When you have these 2 things together, what will start happening is you will shift the energy. You will be able to go to interviews and get invited. So instead of hearing, yeah, let me talk with the hiring manager and we'll see if you're the right candidate to move forward, I'll keep you posted. Thank you so much for your time. You'll start hearing, okay, I'm going to present you to the manager. Are you free next Friday by chance? Right? And things start to happen fast. when the recruiters know that like you are the person they've been looking for, that you were able to articulate the experience on your resume so well, things start to move quickly. So here, what I want you to assess, I love data. So number 2 is your pitch. Here is a telltale sign if you have a pitch that's working superbly for you or not. So the metric I hold my clients to is 80% of the time with the pitch that we create, they should be moving to the next interview stage. Unless something weird happens. So that's that 20% of the time. Now they're typically moving on like 90% of the time, 95% of the time. But your metric, just assess when you do get those phone screens, are you being invited to the next interview 50-50, 60-40, 100% of the time? What is that? And if it's a number below 80, then you know your pitch needs work. It needs a strategic approach. And you can listen to the other podcast episode on that, or you can DM me and we can literally write your pitch together. Okay. So that is the second shift. Now, again, when these two things are combined, there is no competition. You will stand out from the competition because most people don't approach this strategically. Most people think they're answering that tell me about you question fine, but the data says something different. So assess that. Okay. Okay. Next, of course, I want to make this real. I want to paint the picture of what happens when you actually do that. And there will be signs. I keep saying there will be signs. So this is what would happen. This is Joe who negotiated an offer above the range. So it was already a 6-figure offer, but they actually offered her so much more than the range, more than she even expected. She never customized her resume for each application. She never even did networking, which by the way, I do recommend networking. She never even did that, but she ended up landing a 6-figure offer in under 3 months. So here's what she said, because I know this is going to inspire you.
And they said, hey, we really want you to come work for us. We think you'd be a great fit. We don't want to lose you. What is the number that you've already been offered by the other company? I was like, this is what it is. I got a call from her maybe 3 hours later. And she said, we can meet that offer. Granted, this was $10,000 over what the original offer was, $5,000 over their posted range.
There we go. Okay. So this is the clues that you'll start seeing when your pitch is really aligned. It's like companies all of a sudden want to fight for you. They want to offer you what will make you happy. It's like the ball is in your court when you do these things well. And I love to show you with stories and with real results. By the way, all of these results have recently took place. I did the presentation and everything I shared happened like within that month. So this is all like new, hot off the press results in today's market. So you will know when your pitch is clicking, when it seems like things are moving faster than ever before. It seems like the company wants to fight for you. They want to offer you more than they ever said they would. So these are the types of things that can happen once you have a strategic pitch that is very impressive, because most people do not. They think they do, but they don't. And the whole game changes when you draft this strategically. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So the third shift is interview mastery. So this is another one of those things that everyone interviews, right? Everyone knows that they're interviewing and they get out of it okay. And they're like, I'm still alive. But if you're not seeing the signs that we talked about where things are happening quickly, that's what I'm often hearing from clients, that things happen quickly. Like if you listen to the episode with Upsana, she was my first guest on the podcast. And she literally had an interview on New Year's Day and they invited her to it on New Year's Eve. So that literally never happens, but they really wanted to move quickly with her. And then she ended up starting in the role like January 6th or something like that. These are the types of signs that you will start noticing. Now, when you have a great resume, it gets you in the door. When you have a great pitch, you get invited to the next or final interview. But at the final interview, it's not just about answering the questions or winging it or hoping for the best. You need a strategic approach to know how to tell your story with real data confidently, addressing any potential gaps or blind spots with confidence, and also being able to answer all of their questions with clarity using a proven framework that moves the conversation forward. So I hear all the time in the DMs. So in the DMs, when I'm hearing from people where they're just like, I don't know, it must be ageism. Maybe they're racist. Like they go on for so many different reasons about why things aren't happening. And they're like, I am using the STAR method. yeah, everyone knows the STAR method, but there is a difference in using a confident, proven framework, again, that's designed specifically for you in your industry, than trying to put together random tips off the internet and hope that it's working. The data will tell you if it's working. So let's dive into the data. So this is what data looks like in the final interview. So final interview, if you made it to final stages, freaking amazing. Congratulations. First of all, that's no easy feat. And if you had 2 interviews, one of them should result in an offer. I say it's a 50-50 shot at this point because they typically have one other candidate at the very end. Now, when you have a strategic framework, you can also land multiple offers like you just heard Kayla, or maybe like Joe, you get like an unexpected higher 6-figure salary, or maybe like Shrey, where originally he was actually, I didn't even tell you this, but he was interviewing for a business partner role and they ended up offering him a permanent director role. When they started the conversation, it was just a contract, but they wanted to convert him. So things like this start to happen. There will be signs. Okay. So I want to share another story with you to drive this home, to really inspire you so you know what is possible when you leave here today. When you stop listening to this, listen to this.
I had my first class with Irina on 27th of April and I got my job offer on 9th of June. I have been looking for a job for last 1.5 years, but when I started this program and I focused on this, to look at the journey, it was less than 60 days. And I was telling this to Irina that Irina, what you are talking about 90 days. I have worked from past, 1.5 year. I was not able to succeed, but look at me here. In less than 60 days, I am in my perfect fit job. Like what I wanted to do, it's a win-win situation. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. Obsessed with this story. So what you would not have heard was Mayuri was looking for 1.5 years before she joined HR Star, which is one of my signature programs. And she got her dream offer in less than 60 days. Now, what she was saying, Irina, what are you talking about 90 days? Is she wasn't sure this framework would work for her because she actually hired a coach that she paid $7,000 for. She ends up joining my program for 1/3 of the price and ends up landing a role in 60 days after being unemployed for 1.5 years, having that gap on her resume. And she got her perfect fit dream role. So I don't want to talk too much about this case because she's actually going to be on next week's podcast episode where you can listen to her story end to end. So I will not spoiler alert, but you have to listen to the episode because she really talks about what she used to do versus what changed when we started working together. So that is incredible. I cannot wait for you to hear this next Tuesday. The 4th shift is all about confidence and mindset. And the confidence and mindset are so important. I want to put them first, but really it's the 4th shift. The reason it's number 4 is because when you have the first 3 shifts, they end up resulting in confidence and mindset shifts. So what do you think your mindset is like when you're like Mayuri and you don't hear back and you've been searching for 1.5 years? Not very good. You're probably not in a good mental space. And of course, rightfully so, of course, right? Just makes complete sense. When you have a resume that starts landing you interviews, then your pitch is landing you final interviews, and then you're getting offers, dream offers, your confidence goes up in the process. When you know what to do step by step, your confidence and your mindset is much more positive. So in next week's episode, you'll hear the impact on the confidence and the mindset piece. But that is the 4th shift. Now, I know you don't see this, but if you saw my screen right now, you would see my signature framework and it has these 4 shifts. And then also in the corners, it has other factors such as networking and job search strategy, which are all things I teach. And combined, this is what gets you these results that we've been talking about today. But I can't stop there. So let's listen to one more.
What was that like for you?
Honestly, it felt like I could breathe again because that entire month of interviewing and preparing and watching your videos and just practicing how I wanted to respond, it was nerve-wracking, it felt like a lot of weight just because I really wanted this particular role. It felt like the right role for me. So once I heard I got it, I was so excited. I was just kind of screaming in my mind and just
jumping up and down inside because this was the exact role like I told you about when we met, that I wanted to be an HR generalist, and I was just shocked that like I landed the role I had sought out for.
I love that, and especially when you're working so hard and you're putting everything.
Okay, so that was Sydney and I celebrating. I will also have her on the podcast so she can share the secrets, the behind the scenes with you as well of what really worked. She was very entry level and looking to move up in her career, and she wanted a role where she could grow in. And that's exactly what she got. In her first week of her new job, which just happened, she was already being talked to about future opportunities, being a business partner as her next step, which was her dream. So you can hear the confidence shift in her voice when she tells that story. Again, I will not ruin it, but she did not spray and pray. She only applied to a couple of roles. She never, ever was changing her resume for each application. And of course, she got the results she was looking for. And within 90 days. So if you're like, Irina, I want more, like I really want to understand behind the scenes of each and every one of these shifts, freaking amazing. I have really big news dropping on the last episode in August. So August 26th, I believe it is. I am dropping big news. So I cannot wait to share it with you, but I will be hosting a live event. And I can't wait to share all the details with you because it is going to be better than ever. And it will be happening this September. So if you're like, I want more, I want to know how to do this step by step, then I've got you covered. And I cannot wait to see you in next week's episode. Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.